Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee, where I've lived for a number of years. And today is Shabbat. And it's the 26th of August. It's 9:11 in the morning. And that's Israel time, Jewish Standard Time, Holy Land time, whatever you want to call it. 83 degrees now. Our temperature will be 94, 95. As a high, a low of 78 in the night, and we're at 67% humidity. It'll go down now and then probably pick up a little in the evening, not too much. For what it's worth, they're predicting the same tomorrow, and then it should go down to the low 90s for a few days, but you know, they don't often get it right, okay? What can I tell you? It is what it is. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping in the chat. Looks like we got sound and picture. And what did I do? I hit the wrong button. Okay. Let's go back. It'll be quick while I'm waiting for people to come in. You got to give people a few minutes to get here. Oops. Almost done. Right. Okay. So the other day we had two or 3 days ago we had left-wing women's groups go to a small city called Bnei, Brak, which is right next to Tel Aviv. It's a Ultra-Orthodox living area. And they conducted demonstrations. I'll put my sunglasses on to stop the glare. And they conducted demonstrations in Bnei Brak again. Well, the theme was women's rights that the Ultra-Orthodox are violating. See, what they're saying is, what right do you have to tell us how to live? The Ultra-Orthodox are a cult. Just look how they dress. Why would you think they're not a cult after just looking how they dress? They say to them that you have to look like a Jew. Well, that makes discrimination very easy, of course. And what they use is the attire or the clothing that the Jews wore in the European, mostly Russian or Poland shtetls, going back several hundred years, maybe to 1700, more like 1800 probably. But, that's not how the Jews dressed that were all over the rest of the world. Okay? And a lot of the Jews that came out of Russia and Poland and came to America never had that attire. I don't think they wore that attire when they were in Russia or Poland. The Ultra-Orthodox did. So it's not Jewish attire. Jewish attire, according to the Bible, would be a tunic or a robe with the tzitzit with a blue ribbon on the borders of the garment, all the outer borders of the garment, the edges of the garment would have the tzitzit or the tassels on it. They don't dress like that. It's a cult, okay? They don't use the Bible. They use a book they wrote, the Talmud. And in that, they said, Yeshua is not the Son of God. He's not the Messiah. He's not a prophet. He didn't rise from the dead. Do I need to take it further? So, these secular women, or the left-wing women, are tired of them trying to impose their will on women. They had 2 or 3 incidents where there were women getting on a bus with a top, a top garment, an upper garment that didn't have any sleeves. And the way they express it, the women got on the bus wearing extreme short shorts and a bikini top, Well, they were told by the bus driver that there's Ultra-Orthodox men on the bus and they have to go to the back of the bus. That's apartheid, so to speak. That's what happened in the southern states against the black people. You had to go sit in the back of the bus. And that's missing a democracy, which is never anything God uses to run a country. But if you're going to play democracy, democracy does not give one category of people the right to do that to other people. You have freedom, and that means you could dress how you want. Now they put moral standards in, like you can't dress naked and stuff like that. Now, curiously, a few short years ago, in San Francisco, in the Castro district, which is a LGBT neighborhood, I've been through it many times. They created nude zones, NUDE zones, where people could walk around naked. And they did. They, mostly men, they went to, they gather in groups frequently, but not all the time. And they would meet together and they would wear shoes or sandals and socks sometimes. And they might wear a hat and sunglasses, and they would have a backpack on and they'd be buck naked. And they walked around the street that way. Now, if you're going on a 365-day Gregorian Pope Gregory calendar, probably 355 days of that would be way the heck too cold to walk around Castro Street naked. You might have a handful of days where it'd be warm in the middle of the day where you could do that. So I don't know how the heck they did it. When I lived in San Francisco, I lived in the area for 20 years, and I lived in, what neighborhoods did I live in? I lived in Pacific Heights, I lived in Russian Hill, I lived in Nob Hill, I lived kind of in the avenues. I don't even remember all the other places I lived. Let me think. I lived in the Haight briefly, Haight-Ashbury. What else? I lived out in the avenues near the ocean. So, Castro Street has a couple of blocks. The neighborhood is basically about 3 blocks long. And then it has, the neighborhood flows over an extra 2 blocks or so. It's not that big. And it has pretty good weather, and it could get a little bit warm there, from about, let's say, noon to 2 o'clock, and maybe if you were really dedicated to walking around naked, you could do it. Or maybe they took a few shots of booze or something to keep warm. Booze drives the blood to your extremities, so you might stay warm, but I don't know how you could do it. So anyway, they were doing it, and public buses were going by with school kids on it, young school kids, people started avoiding the Castro driving through and so forth because they didn't want to look at this. And then they had a problem. There's a number of benches that's usually slotted wood, so it has spaces between the wood, but there's a number of benches there by bus stops and so forth, and these naked people would sit down on the benches nude, and they started getting worried that this could cause diseases with somebody with body fluids, another person coming on, and from sweating. You got the idea. I think they stopped it eventually, but it went on for a couple of years. I think they stopped it. Now, many years ago, when I was going to graduate school, I was living out, I'd say you call it in the avenues, but not near the ocean. But it had a different name. It was the Fillmore more than the avenues, I guess. And there was a big park. I don't remember the name of the big park. It was like one big city block, and it had grass and trees and swings. And when the weather was good, I would go out of my apartment because I was mostly taking night courses for graduate school, and I would walk over to the park, which was 2-3 blocks or something, and I would find a nice spot on the grass in the sun, and I'd sit there and study. It beat sitting in the dingy apartment. It was a dingy apartment. So I'd go over there and study, and bring some books with me and study. And I saw guys would go there. I'm talking, I think 1972. And people would go to get a suntan in the park, and they'd sunbathe, which is acceptable, and they used to wear jockstraps and walk around sunbathing, and nobody did anything about it. Some guys would bring a little dumbbell or a kettlebell and exercise out while they were sunbathing and things like that. And there were children running around freely in the park, We had a dog. I used to take the dog with me sometimes. He was a little nuts, a Weimaraner. But he used to like going to the park. I rarely took him, but I think I did at times. And that's what, that was going on. That's a long time ago. But buck naked in the streets. This was in a park in the streets. I don't know. So, things can get weird, This, I don't think, really took off around the country, building nude zones. I think the people in America thought that was too much. But back then, California had nude beaches close to San Francisco, 20, 30 minutes away. And I was not walking with, I didn't know the Lord then, so I was I'd go to these places every now and then. You didn't have to be nude. You could be nude, you didn't have to be nude. So the nudity was really, it's been going on forever, people just like to do that, I saw a video on YouTube once about a resort in Jamaica that was a nude, adults only hotel, a luxurious hotel. People would come from all over the world, particularly in the winter, and go to Jamaica where it's warm for vacation. It was an all-inclusive and all that. I was looking for hotels, and around there, and I saw all-inclusive. I didn't realize it was nude, and I went in there. I started watching the video, and what was going on is people were walking in the lobby. They'd get in the airport, they'd get a shuttle or a cab, go to the hotel. And then when they were in the lobby of the hotel, they took their clothes off while they were waiting on the line to check in. They couldn't even wait to get the room key and go up to the room and then get undressed, you know. So, go figure, you know. Go figure. So California had nude beaches all over the place. Once, me and a friend had a cabin up in the Russian River in Sonoma County. It was for the summer, I think. It was kind of nice up there, and they had the Russian River, and there was something like a beach by the river. And people would go in the river and go rafting. You'd have to have a car at both ends so you could get back, and they'd ride. They'd get in a tire in a tube, usually a truck tire, a pickup truck tire or something. And the river would float you down like a lazy river in a hotel where it's concrete, but this was the real thing. There wasn't no rapids or anything. It was pretty gentle, and they used to run. Half of the people there run around nude, you know. And then you'd see the sheriff's helicopter hovering over there, and the binoculars looking at them, you know. You know, the crazy things, you know. I don't know of anything like that in Israel, but what the Ultra-Orthodox are trying to do is take the public bathing places that belong to the government and segregate them. The way that works is they put like stakes in the sand. They probably drive them down 5 or 6 feet or deeper, I don't know. And then they put some sort of a fabric, waterproof nylon, or I don't know where there's plastic up there. They make it, I don't know, 6 feet high or something. And they put the solid fabric on there, on the fence, and they take it out into the water a little bit, maybe 6 or 8 feet in the water, I don't know. And then on one side is the women's side, and one side is the men's side. And that means if you're not an Ultra-Orthodox and you want to go to one of these beaches, you have to split your family. So the guy with the male children is on one side, and the woman with the babies is on the other side. And it's not exactly their idea of a good fun outing, okay? So they're getting really, really mad at the Ultra-Orthodox, okay? The kettle is boiling with the Israelis really losing their patience with these Ultra-Orthodox. They're manipulating this pathetic moron Netanyahu who's facing jail, and he made some crazy alliances to get back in the prime minister seat, and it's just kowtowing to everybody in his coalition to get them to pass legislation so he could weaken the courts and squirm out of his court case. It's a series of laws that they're passing, and the last one will be that anything the prime minister does when he's in office, he has immunity from civil or criminal prosecution. So that would mean all of Netanyahu's 3 criminal cases, which total a maximum penalty of 16 years in jail, would be null and void. And then after that, Netanyahu will shift and go back to his evil, rotten ways, and he'll stab the Ultra-Orthodox in the back and the right wing, and go back to telling the people he's right wing when he's really left the center. Netanyahu is afraid that there'll be a vote of no confidence before he has enough time to get all these laws passed. He's building them in stages. Okay, the first thing he did is the reasonableness standard. The Supreme Court would strike down not laws, but actions of the government. Could be a budget, government decisions about how they're going to, fund a school or build a park or anything like that. If the Supreme Court felt it was not reasonable, they could strike it down. Now, there is nothing in the written basic laws of Israel, which they falsely call the Constitution, It's nothing resembling a constitution. And it resembles it, but it's not anywhere near as strong as the Constitution. So they started with the reasonableness, because that would put Aryeh Deri back and to the government, because he was told to be removed because he has, I think, 3 criminal cases. He was in jail once, and his last case, to beat the jail sentence, he pled guilty, and he gave them a written stipulation that he would not go back into public life, hold a public office. That he broke it with Netanyahu, and Netanyahu not only made him the minister of the Mishrat Hapanim, which controls immigration, they also made him the health minister. It's a jailbird, and they're making it, so the Supreme Court said that's not reasonable, and they made Netanyahu kick him out of office based on reasonableness. So this thing that the Knesset passed, it says that the Supreme Court cannot knock anything down they did based on reasonableness. So they have not yet appointed Aryeh Deri back into office. And now the Supreme Court in September is going to rule on this reasonableness law the Knesset passed. Now, if Netanyahu doesn't put Aryeh Deri back in office, the Shas party points a gun at him politically and says, we're going to blow your coalition up. You're going to have to stand for a vote of no confidence, and you're probably going to wind up in jail because you're never going to pass again, because the Ultra-Orthodox aren't going to side with you. The left-wing parties, which are Meretz and Yair Lapid and Benny Gantz, aren't going to go with you. So there's no chance, there's not enough people left for Netanyahu to get a coalition of 61. Plus, Lieberman, the Russian party, he's not going to go with them, and he's varies between 5 and 7 or 8 votes. Also, he will never go back to Netanyahu. He can't stand Netanyahu, as many people can't stand Netanyahu. Why Benny Gantz is not doing a vote of no confidence is a mystery to me. Because the polls keep saying he has enough votes to win, and I don't know why he's not doing it. The powers of the air are telling him not to, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know. All right, moving along. So the Supreme Court is acting very strongly like they're going to strike down this reasonableness law the Knesset passed. They asked the Knesset to submit their argument to them early in September before they rule on this, making their case as to why the Supreme Court should not strike it down. Okay? And that's a very strong indicator that they expect to strike it down. They asked Netanyahu, what does he think he will do if the Supreme Court strikes it down? Will he listen to them or just say they have no power, we passed a law, which is breaking the democracy? But not really, because he's going to say nothing in the basic laws says they can do that, and he's right. But it's likely to cause a violent civil war in Israel. The Israeli people in their minds back in the COVID days, 19 and 20, a lot of people felt Netanyahu did a miserable job. He wrecked the economy, he killed tourism, it never came back. Tourism is way down. They're not talking about it, but I'm telling you, it's way down. Nobody really inquires about the guest house. We used to be able to fill it easily. There's no tourists here. I'm not seeing the tourist buses. They're not here. Why would they not come? Well, Jews are getting killed every day in the West Bank for starters. There's protests all over the country. Recently we got a missile attack with this threats of war with Lebanon, with Gaza, it's all crazy, you know. Why are they going to come? They're not. Some do, but not many. Some do, but not many. So the economy got really bad during COVID. And people are afraid of him for that. They don't like the way he put us in our houses and said you couldn't go more than 100 or 200 meters from your house. I mean, nobody wants to go through this again, okay? He turned the Israeli DNA records over to Pfizer without the permission of the people and no legislation to support it. The people are livid about that. And there's other things I don't care to talk about here. And the people are really, really mad at him for that. Now, there's new breakouts of a new strain of COVID that they say the older vaccines don't work against. I'm not sure if they have a new vaccine for it or not. I think so. I don't know. So I think they do. They're saying it. That's what I'm reading anyway. So anyway, they're very distrustful of him about that. But that's not boiling over, because Israel had one case of this new COVID. And they say that it spreads easy, but it's minor, like the Omicron thing. That's what I'm reading. So Netanyahu, the people don't trust him to manage something like this. They don't trust him at all. The only people that seem to be supporting Netanyahu are the ones that have political favoritism from his party, I think, you know. I don't know who else is supporting this nudnik. So we don't know how Netanyahu is going to play this reasonableness thing. If he agrees with the Supreme Court, Aryeh Deri can never come back and run these two ministries. And the Shah's party, which is 7 votes, 8 votes, can pull away from the coalition. And that will crash his coalition and we'll go to new elections. Okay? United Torah Judaism is pushing, the other Ultra-Orthodox party, is pushing all this agenda they have. You know, the holier than thou agenda. They are discriminatory towards non-Ultra-Orthodox Jews. They really are. And they want the non-Orthodox Jews to support them. And we've been having vast budget increases giving money to them for various reasons. And that went through and the people seemed to put up with that. They didn't like it. They put up with it. Now the women's rights people in Israel are furious what they're doing. And Netanyahu has no choice but to listen to them or he'll be in jail. So they're using Netanyahu, who's a pathetic, miserable schmuck, against the people of Israel for their own personal interests. We want segregated beaches. Okay? People have had it with them. And now they're protesting in their neighborhoods. If this keeps going with them, I'm telling you, it's going to be to the point where when they walk the streets, people are going to spit at them, knock their hats off. They have usually rather expensive fedora hats. Push them, shove them, grab their tzitzit. I don't know what else they'll do to them. These people don't study fighting arts, and they normally don't fight back. They'll scream, yell, run away, stuff like that. If they start fighting back, they're going to be in a fight. They don't go to gyms and work out and stuff like that. You think they got speed bags and heavy bags. People in Israel have been in the military and work for government. They know Krav Maga all over the place, which I don't believe is a very good system at all. But the women will get these people, you know. And I don't know how strong the police are going to be to protect these people. There are no Ultra-Orthodox cops. You think their wives are happy? You think they're happy? It could be they're just going to look the other way. So this Ultra-Orthodox are pushing things so far, they're going to hit their Waterloo. Now, they're pushing, as a condition of them staying in the coalition, a draft exemption for all their males that attend their yeshivas, which is learning institutions they run. The boys have to stay in the yeshiva till they're 21. Then they get a lifetime exemption, and the women don't get drafted because they just don't. Ultra-Orthodox women. So this is a serious thing. If Netanyahu passes this thing, Israel's going to explode. There's going to be people that don't protest normally against Netanyahu that are going to start. It's going to get wild. They're not going to let the Ultra-Orthodox keep getting away with all this crap. Because if you do, they'll you know, if they had a chance to carry it out to the fullest, they would say anybody who's not Ultra-Orthodox certified by an Ultra-Orthodox rabbi can't vote in Israel. That's where it'll wind up. And you'll wind up working as servants in their house. That's, you know, that's how bad they are. I think these morons were part of the problem causing all the anti-Semitism in Europe with Hitler. It was them, I believe. Because they can't even live in Israel with Jews. Many of them, the Haredi, go around saying Israel's not Israel because they don't follow Torah. Well, they don't follow Torah either. They follow the Talmud. And to trick the people, they call the Talmud Torah. They call the Kabbalah, which is a witchcraft type study guide, as amongst other things, they call that the Torah. They trick the people. So the people think when they follow the Talmud, they're following the Torah. They're not. It's an extra biblical book they wrote. It's nonsense. So Israel's about ready to get ripped apart. And Netanyahu is a moron. I mean, basically, he's mentally ill. And he doesn't know what to do. And he's facing 16 years in jail, which means he's going to probably die in jail. And he doesn't know what to do. So he's trying to hold this together, which is like trying to hold broken eggs in your hands. You can keep doing it for a while, and then the eggs are going to slip through. Well, the eggs are starting to slip through. So if Netanyahu says he's going to ignore the Supreme Court, people in Israel are going to say, I don't want this idiot to be a dictator. The left wing is half of Israel. They're all not going to want this idiot. And a lot of the other people are going to say, we don't want this idiot. And if Gantz and Yair Lapid don't do a vote of no confidence, which the powers of the air may be encouraging them to not do it, it's going to cause a civil war and rip Israel, which is something the unclean spirits would definitely like. So they could be playing Netanyahu for a chump. Now, what Jehovah likes and what Jehovah wants is what counts, not what they want to count. Okay? Jehovah's not going to have Israel split up or anything like that. But these Ultra-Orthodox are in dire straits. Nobody really converts to Ultra-Orthodoxy Judaism. I mean, occasionally you see it, but they grow up in it. And if they leave it, their family basically sits shiva for them. Shiva is a word like 7. They sit 7 days on a wood stool and they don't shave and they cover the mirrors and this kind of thing. To mourn the dead. But they treat them as dead. There is a way for them to come back, but they're never treated or trusted the same. So if they walk away, it's like the Mormons. You know, they lose their friends and family completely. But they do. They make movies about it. They're on TV. There's websites. They got organizations to help people leave it and break out. The people that leave it and break out don't become messianic. They, you know, maybe it's happened on rare occasions. They normally just become secular. You know, they get rid of. They don't follow, you know, Shabbat or Kosher or, you know, they just go live in the world. But they gotta say goodbye to their friends and families. That's a heavy yoke on their neck. The Mormons do it, other cults do it, I believe the JWs do it. You know, if you go to Baptists or Assemblies of God churches or any of that and you decide to drop out, then people are still going to talk to you. You know, your family and all that, you know. They're not going to, I mean, it would be rare to see them disfellowship them, but not with these people. So there was an article I found today, and I put it up on my Telegram. If you want to join my Telegram, just send me an email. My email is pinned at the top of the chat, and it's also in the description box on the lowest line down. They estimate that just in Israel, the kosher food game, which the article in the major media said was corrupt, costs Israelis $800 million a year. Now, probably about 3.5 million out of 6.7 or something like that, 6.9 million people in Israel are going to eat kosher. The Jews in Israel. Not all of them pay attention to kosher, okay? Maybe it's more, but using 3.5 million with an average household of 3, of course some people live by themselves or just a couple, and you know, so I just picked 3. You get about 2,500 shekels a month. 2,500 shekels a year that every household, Jewish household in Israel, pays to support these rabbis in their kosher thing. Now, we see bottles of water that say kosher on them. Honestly. During Passover, they put kosher for Pesach on the bottles of water. How can you have kosher water? See, kosher is based on Moses' law, clean and unclean animals. So every fruit and every vegetable is clean. Water is clean, orange juice is clean, tomato juice is clean. How can you have unclean water? I mean, what do they think? The people at the bottling plant have a bunch of pigs that they let them swim in the water that they're bottling? Or turtles, or snakes, or frogs? What are they talking about? They're just ripping the people off. If you were a poor person in Israel, 2,500 shekels a month would allow you to feed a family of 3. You would be eating a lot of pasta. You'd be tuna fish, sardines. You wouldn't be eating good. You'd be eating, not well, but you'd be eating. You wouldn't starve. You wouldn't, you'd have protein and all the other stuff, okay? So yeah, it'd be possible to live on it, not well, but you could live on it. So that means that people are taking what, basically a month's worth of food money and giving it to the rabbis to conduct ceremonies and inspections that is irrelevant to the Bible and never was intended. It's a shakedown. Okay? Now that's with groceries. If you're talking restaurants, I think there's about a 15% price increase on restaurants. And the kosher thing causes the restaurants to charge more to offset the price of kosher. It's absurd. It's so stupid. But the people in Israel still have their eyes closed and their ears stopped up. And they don't see these things. Okay? So when you start seeing articles in the paper that talks about, big papers that talks about an $800 million a year shakedown from the Ultra-Orthodox rabbis, I'm telling you, that's not a common newspaper article. It's stirring the people up against them. They got a law passed, I believe Netanyahu did it, that said you're not allowed to call your restaurant or food store or supermarket kosher unless you get a certificate from an ultra-Orthodox rabbi in the chief rabbinate's office. Now, they control that office. So if you have a restaurant and you don't want to pay their, Al Capone protection money, you don't have a kosher certificate, and much of Israel will not eat in your restaurant. So if you put kosher up on your restaurant in the window, you say kosher, let's say you have a hamburger joint, you say kosher. You have to take it down or they'll shut your restaurant and put you in jail. You can't have a kosher certificate from another kind of rabbi. Their rabbis are considered trustworthy and superior, according to them, over the other rabbis. See, they're doing apartheid with the Jews. They're discriminating against Jews. They're off their rocker. And they don't see that this is going to cause such great animosity against them among the Israelites. The Ultra-Orthodox are going to wish they weren't living in Israel. Then, hopefully, although I don't think prophetically time will allow, you would see another left-wingish administration or a different administration come in and eliminate the chief rabbinate's office, which would kill their economic money because it's kosher, marriages, getting certified to be in an Orthodox cemetery, and all kinds of things that are idiotic. So they would be losing, certifying who's a Jew, doing conversions. They'd be losing their revenue. I'll be right back. every time. Knock that thing down. Ugh. Why am I talking about this? Because the whole world is going to change when Israel changes. If you know anything about prophecy, you'll know that. And we're in the year of recompenses, which is payback, which I believe is the same as the year of redemption. And if I'm not, then I assume the year of redemption would be the following year. But when he says a year, it's not a cyclical year like a Shemitah or a Jubilee year. It's a year like they were in Babylon 70 years. Did they go on the first of Abib, the beginning of the biblical calendar? No. I never read that. So, it doesn't it's not based on a particular date. It's a year. It's a 360-day biblical year. And we're in it. I think it started sometime around August 1st, give or take several days. And you could see we're in it. Now, Israel breaking up is very much a part of end times, not the way the church teaches it, but the way your Bible teaches it, because in Ezekiel 34 it says the bad shepherds of Israel are going to get cut off. When you read the next big battle for Israel in Zechariah 12, the two judges, which are the two witnesses, are running Israel. They call them the governors in the King James. They're the judges. In Isaiah 1, God says he's going to run Israel again with the judges and the counselors, like he did at the first, which was Moses and Aaron, were two prophets, and they operated as judges, and then they had the 70 councils. Yeshua sent the 70 out. It's not done away with. The law is not done away with. There's no temple, there's no priesthoods. You're in the age of grace. You can't follow these things. Let me take a peek at the live stream chat and see if we got any questions or things I need to deal with. Stop it, Yafa. Okay. 2/3 of Israel is going to get cut off, and this hasn't happened yet. The church people tell you it has. I'm going to show you why. You're going to learn in a couple of seconds why it hasn't come to pass yet. It's not difficult. Go to Zechariah 13, verse 8. And it shall pass that in all the land, saith Jehovah, 2/3 therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yehovah Elohim, Yehovah is my God. Okay, now, did that happen in the Holocaust? Of course not. They weren't in Israel. It's absurd to say it was a Holocaust. Absurd. Plus, the math doesn't work very well either. After the Holocaust, 1/3 of Israel got raised up to serving the Lord. Come on, that never happened. Did it happen in the Babylonian captivity? No, everybody that didn't go to Babylon got killed. Nobody was getting raised up in Israel. He protected the Israelites in Babylon, not Israel, but there's a big difference. This is unfulfilled scripture, and when you combine it with Ezekiel 34, you could see it easily. It says, and I will bring the third part through the fire, and refine them as silver is refined, and try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yehovah Elohim. it says, they shall call on my name. The word for name is Shem. It means name. That's excellent translation. The rabbis have been teaching the Jews forever that you can't pronounce the name Jehovah. You'll bring a curse on yourself if you do. They're blotting out God's name. What do you think they're doing? They shall call on my name. You know, it's not yet, but it's coming to pass. Now it says he's going to refine them like gold and silver, right? Where do you see that? Where do you see that in place a little differently, but you still see it? You go to Malachi 3, which is very important for prophetic things happening to Israel very soon. And it says, I'll just start in verse 1. Behold, I will send my Malach, which means messenger. So there's a play on words with the title of the book. I believe some pronounce it Malachi, but I think Malach is messenger. I don't know if it's Malachi. I think it's Malachi, which is a name. And he shall prepare the way before me. John the Baptist, Yeshua said, if you will accept that he was Elijah. Well, he's not literally Elijah. They asked him, and he said he wasn't, and he wouldn't lie. The one of the two witnesses that's going to be like Elijah is not literally Elijah. It's elected unto man to die only once. That's the scripture. He died, okay? He went to heaven. Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. You can't go up there in your flesh body. In a blink of an eye, in an instant, he was converted to a spiritual body, and he went up in a whirlwind. Can you go up in a whirlwind with a flesh body? Come on. A whirlwind's a little twisted. He didn't go up in the chariot. He went up in a whirlwind. The chariot came down. He went up in a whirlwind. Okay. So he's going to prepare the way again, because John the Baptist wasn't supposed to succeed, because that wasn't the restoration of Israel. At the time Yeshua was on earth, he came as what they call the suffering servant, right? And Israel, according to Hosea 6, 1 and 2, got a 2,000-year punishment for killing God's firstborn son, the Messiah. And that punishment is over now, because we're in the year of recompenses. So we're no longer turned over to our enemies, which is what he said he would do during this double punishment, a 2,000-year punishment. Hosea 6, 1 and 2. Everything I'm telling you has got scriptures, or 99.9% of it or something. It's all scripture. So the next time that this Elijah type comes, he's going to succeed and prepare the way for the return of Yeshua. And what do we learn about the return of Yeshua? It says, whom the heavens shall receive until the restitution of all things, or the restoration, we might say, of all things. Are all things restored? Have you seen New Jerusalem lately with the gold streets? And come on, you know, it's not ready. And Jehovah whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple. Now, the glory of the God of Israel is an angel, it's Michael, that God put his name Jehovah in Exodus 23, and he was with Moses and Aaron, the, so to speak, original two judges in the wilderness. He shall suddenly come to his temple. Okay? There's another temple coming, of course. Now, we had Solomon's temple, Zerubbabel's temple, and Herod's temple. We've already had 3 temples. The next is the 4th. Why all the churches call it the 3rd escapes me. I have no understading why they do that, unless they just want to deceive you. Shall come, okay. The Adonai, the Lord whom you seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. That's not one of the 2 witnesses. That's the glory of God of Israel. Even the messenger of the covenant, the Malach of the covenant, whom you delight in. Now it's switching back to Elijah. They all talk Elijah's going to come and teach us the Torah. And he will. And he's going to start right with who's the Messiah, right? whom ye delight in. They Passover, they make a place setting for him, pour him a glass of wine, put a plate out for him. They have special chairs with his name on it, and they leave the door open if it's safe for them to do that. So Elijah can come in and have Passover Seder with them. Whom ye delight in, behold, he shall come. That's, you read it that way, like, let my people go. Behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah of hosts. But who may abide the day of his coming? He likely can be the one that takes out these 2/3. Why would it say who may abide the day of his coming? What does the word abide mean? It's 3557 Strong's number in the Hebrew. It's pronounced kol, cool. Seize, contain, measure, calculate like 2/3. Hold and restrain. Let's see what Strong's places for it. Keep in, measure, maintain, abide, bear, comprehend, contain. Okay. Who's going to be able to keep going, abide? There's another word they put in 853, et. No, that's just the definitive word. Who may abide the day of his coming? The day of his coming, 935 coming, bow. Go in, come. How would I use the word bow? You might want to call, in Hebrew, call a kid boy lapo, which means come here. Come to here. May abide the day, that should be yom. It means day of his coming. And who shall stand when he appeareth? The word for appeareth is ra'ah, Strong 7200 in Hebrew. To see, to be seen, it's a pretty decent translation. Who could stand when he appeareth, when he's seen? Who's going to be able to stand when he's seen? That's when he starts working openly. The 2 witnesses are in Israel now, believe me. They're not working openly. For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. See, we read that before in Zechariah 13. He shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. And he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. Tzedek. Righteous offerings. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem, that's who's here now, not the 10 tribes, be pleasant unto Jehovah as in the days of old, as in the former years. Now, that means the blessings of the law are going to come on us. You see that in Zechariah 12, sort of, kind of. And I will come near to you, well, not exactly in Zechariah 12, I'm not so sure. I would, maybe, I don't know. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, the adulterers, the false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow, and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith Jehovah of hosts. For I am Jehovah, I change not. Therefore you sons of Yaakov are not consumed. Okay, so he's going to be a witness against these people, and I believe the two witnesses will cut them off. Because when they appear in Zechariah 12, there is no more democracy or any of that stuff. Even from the days of your fathers you are gone away from mine ordinances and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Jehovah of hosts. For you said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. See, when you get fed by a minister of the gospel and you don't give the carnal things back, offerings, you're robbing God. Because the person doing it is working for God. And if you're getting fed and you don't do the offerings, you're ripping off God and the person that's preaching to you and feeding you. God sees it as you robbing him. And then what does he say? Because of that, you're cursed with a curse. For you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Don't shoot the messenger, it's right in your Bible, Malachi 3 verse 9. Bring you all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now wherewith, saith Jehovah of armies, if I will not open you the window of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Now that's what happens when you do give the offerings to the person who's preaching to you, and you're getting fed. You're not supposed to muzzle the ox while he treads out the grain. The ox is God's servant that's teaching. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. The devourer is the locust, the cankerworm, the palmer worm, the things that eat the crops. Neither shall your vine cast the fruit before the time in the field, saith Jehovah of hosts. And all goyim, or all nations, all heathen nations, shall call you blessed, because we got the blessings of the law. For you shall be a delightsome land, saith Jehovah of hosts. Your words have been stout against me, saith the Lord. Yet you say, what have we spoken so much against thee? You have said, it is vain to serve God. And what profit is it? We have kept his ordinance, and that we have walked mournfully before Jehovah of hosts. People don't understand the 2,000-year punishment for killing his firstborn son, Yeshua. That's what they're missing. He says he'll be like an enemy to Israel during this period. And now we call the proud happy. Yeah, that's the Espots. They're not going to make it. And most of them will be gone during this year of recompenses. It'll go into billions. Ungodly, the Espots, all of them. We call the proud happy, yea, they that work wickedness are set up. Yea, they that tempt God are even delivered. Then they that feared the Lord spoke often one to another. Do you ever speak one to another about the Lord? And the Lord hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Jehovah and that thought upon his name. Do you fear Jehovah? Do you think upon his name? Expect to find your name in the book if you do. And they shall be mine, saith Jehovah of armies. In that day, it's that day, it's a day, when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them, as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. This is Zechariah 12. Then shall you return and discern between the returns, your second Exodus, and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not. So the chess pieces of the border prophecy are being moved around in Israel heavily. It's not just the nations. Okay. So we're seeing heat. There's heat waves all over the world, are there not? There are. That's part of it. Okay? I'll refresh your memory where that's found in the scriptures in a moment. I'm going to cheat and go with my notes. Isaiah 29. They don't use Isaiah 29 too much, do they? Start in 6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder. Now, visitation, he's not referencing Israel. Visitation is a bad thing. You shall be visited with thunder. The word for thunder is 7482. Ra'am, and it means thunder, and we've been seeing the thunder and the lightning taking place. I had a big one in Mecca, London, recently, last few days, and with earthquake we're getting those, and great noise. That's a mystery to me what that means. Sounds. It could be the thunder. Well, it wouldn't be thunder. I don't know. With storm and tempest. A storm is 5492 Safar. Hurricane is, or a tornado is a good choice of words for that. And the word tempest, 5591, is sa'ar. It could be a storm or a whirlwind. Hurricane too. So I believe it means these type of things. Remember, hurricanes spin around like a whirlwind, right? Like a twister sort of. So if I'm going to guess at this, I think he's talking about storms, which would mean thunder, lightning, rain, floods, hail, snow, and the tempest could be the twisting things, and the flame of devouring fire. The flame of devouring fire. Okay. I don't have today's fire map. I have one from 2-3 days ago. I'll show you. I'm doing this every day because different people come in every day, and I'm trying to wake up as many people as I can to the scriptures. Oh, I went the wrong place. No, I'll get it momentarily. I gotta reboot this thing. It'll be quick. That's where I'm stuck. Give me a minute. reboot on me. I got a glitch. There we go. It happens sometimes. Usually it's pretty good. Well, while it reboots, I'll run out for a second. Be right back. Not to worry about it now. All right. And we should be in good shape now. We are. I'll get there in a second. Sorry for the interruptions. There's nothing really wrong with this thing. I just use it a lot, and it glitches sometimes, but it's really not the device, it's Telegram. I use it a lot and it gets hung up, and that's what happens. Okay, let's try to find something. Yeah, that's right. That's better vertical. Okay, this is the general view of the world, with the red being all the fires in the world. Now I'll give it to you by the continent. Here's Europe. Look at that. Nothing going on in Israel, by the way, with the fires. We really don't have fires to speak of here. You can see Russia up here has a lot of fires. Africa down there is like solid fire. Look at that. Look at that. You know, I think this is an updated map. I think it might have been updated. I don't know. You can look at the Pacific Rim, China, they got a bunch over there. Now, look at South America. You can see it down there. It's massive, the fires in South America. And then look at North America. Loads. There's loads of fires. Okay? We're there. You're in the year of recompenses. There's loads of fires. I'm giving you evidence of this, okay? It's not you know, what the churches are teaching you. They're teaching you that the birth pangs lead to the return of Yeshua, and that's not true. No, do that another time. Before I forget, so I have forgotten the past and I hate it. Prayer requests. We have one prayer request today for L.E. Lima Echo. L.E. Lima Echo. L.E. Prayers for healing and salvation. For L.E. Lima Echo. So the heat and the fires are tied into this whole thing. And the multitude of all the nations that fight against Ariel, which is in the West Bank, even all that fight against her and her munition is a bad English word. It's 4685 in Strong's Matzod, let me get the pronunciation. Mitzod. It's a siege, and that's what happens in Zechariah 12. The nations, the Goyim, the greater Israel nations, specifically Psalm 83, lay siege, or they surround Jerusalem and Judah. It shall be even as when, well, we've gone through this. Okay, so I've kind of made that point, okay? And then in verse 10 we read of Isaiah 29. For Jehovah hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and hath closed your eyes. The prophet and your rulers, the seers, hath he covered. And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. See, they don't understand the prophecies. They don't see. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, I pray thee, and he saith, I am not learned. Therefore, wherefore, Adonai said, for as much as this people draweth near me with their mouth and with their lips, do honor me. In other words, they give him lip service, but have removed their heart from me, and their fear towards me is taught by the precept of men, not the word of God. That's the Talmud. It's a precept of men, for one. Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work. They're not all going to die. And a wonder, for the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Jehovah, and their works are in the dark. And they say, who seeth us? Plenty. The angels see it. It's all written down. All right. So what are we going to be seeing in the near future? Well, more hurricanes, probably a lot more of the snow and hail and floods in the deserts like Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. Going to see more
Probably
of that,
a lot
more of that stuff happening. Earthquakes are going to start. Well, we've had earthquakes, but you're going to see what's, Luke 21 says great earthquakes in diverse places. You'll see great earthquakes. Big ones. What's a big one? You got me, I don't know. They measure them up to 10 on the Richter scale. Although I don't think they ever called a 10. They've had 9s they've recorded. I tend to think that a great earthquake would be an 8 or more. But I think the San Francisco Bay Bridge breaking was a 7-9 or something like that. About 30 years ago, 35 years ago, something like that. I remember that one. We got heat waves. We got fires all over the place, okay? We got storms all over the place. Are you getting it? But these are the birth pangs that leads to the travail, the birthing process, the baby's head is crowning, the water breaks, the cervix is dilated, the baby's crowning, the birth of a nation in a day. And that was not in 1948. Forget that. That's nonsense. Okay. God is going to kill billions of people to let Israel get restored. That's his will and his way, and they're his enemies. Israel's enemies are his enemies. The churches are going after Israel now, some of them, because Israel is pulling away the clergy visas from these expire charity, call themselves charity organizations in Israel. International Christian Embassy, Christian Friends of Israel, Bridges for Peace. They're all vermin. In my opinion, vermin. Despots to the core. And I'm glad to see them go. And that's a good sign. That's a good sign. They're losing their visas for their leaders, and they can't bring new ones in, and they're going to be leaving. And the sooner the better. These people are enemies of Israel. Enemies, that's all they are. Now, I remember years ago the Christian Embassy gave $100,000 to some Orthodox, Ultra-Orthodox organization that was persecuting the Messianics. They hate us. I believe Satan has him here in Israel to make sure that the church world that wants to support Israel does not give money to Messianics in Israel, which Satan doesn't want here at all. I cannot think, I'm just trying now, of one organization in Israel that's run just by Messianics, not under the umbrella of any church, that has any substantial resources. Not a single one. Not one that I know of. And I live here. It's very hard. Very hard on Messianics to live in Israel. I'm telling you the truth. And as of late, most of the ones I know, and I know a bunch, are basically busted up emotionally. Sadly, most of them are expecting the tribulation because they play with the church doctrines. A lot of them go to Messianic congregations. Yafa, are you under my chair? She likes me and she goes under my chair. There's a little place she holds up in there. And yet these church-oriented ministries got massive budgets. When I used to live in Mevaseret Zion many years ago, which is just a few kilometers outside of Jerusalem, it had many false believers with the church world there. They lived there. It was nicer than living in Jerusalem. It only took a few minutes to get into Jerusalem. It was more like country living. I lived on a street called the Olives. And it was it's called Zaitim for olives, those of you with eyes and ears. And it was a nice place, and they lived there. And you know, what would they do? Like, we'd be scratching to be able to buy food. At one point I was getting food from a charity, and what would they do? Oh, they'd go to the supermarket Friday afternoon and pick themselves out a nice big expensive bottle of wine. I had a piece of crap car that was literally falling apart. They'd go out and get a new Volvo or something like that, you know. They had nice houses, and they traveled all the time to Europe, North America, Asia, wherever, to speak in the churches. And they'd pass the plate, take in tons of money. And they would do all their shopping outside of Israel, which is what I used to do when I worked for a kibbutz and I was traveling all the time. I was even buying paper towels outside of Israel. Shopping in Israel is very challenging unless you've got an income of, you know, like $250,000 or $500,000 a year. Then you would go live in Tel Aviv probably and go shopping in the stores there, and you'd be able to get all the good things. Not so much from America, but the good things from Europe more frequently. But they're still good. You know, when you live here, you learn there's a lot of good food items coming out of Europe. You got to know what they are. But a lot. And there's a lot of non-kosher restaurants in Tel Aviv. You could eat good food. Kosher is ridiculous. It's not in the Bible. I know there's a thing about clean and unclean food, but you'd be able to eat the clean animals in Tel Aviv that weren't blessed by some Talmudic believing black coat rabbi, you know. What do I need that for, you know? So you're going to see more storms, more heat, and more wars. Every day Taiwan wakes up and they got a bunch of airplanes from China violating their airspace and a bunch of Navy ships surrounding them. Every day. Every day. Every day. Had a bunch of people leave the live stream in the last few minutes. They don't like it when I teach real Bible prophecy. They run away. I read the scriptures and they run away. John 6 verses 39, 40, 44, and 54, Yeshua said all the believers that Jehovah gave to him, he's going to raise up at the same, on the last day, which is after the millennium. Everybody goes up on the same day. There's no left behind rapture. They don't want to hear it. They go away. Are they rejecting knowledge? You bet they are. Does God reject them because they reject knowledge? You bet. It's in the written word. God can't break the word. He's not a liar. They will be rejected. Don't be fooled by them. They teach the people that you could still be a believer and have many different doctrines. Pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib. Pray in tongues, don't pray in tongues. Baptize in the Holy Spirit, don't baptize in the Holy Spirit. House church, no house church, all this stuff. It's okay, we accept the differences, Billy Graham once on TV said, I'm very comfortable with Mormons. You gotta be kidding me. But he said it. I heard it. He said, I'm very comfortable with Mormons. What does our Bible tell us? Well, if you want to follow the Bible, 2 John, verse 9, whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ hath not God. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son. If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. For he that biddeth him Godspeed is a partaker of his evil deeds. Godspeed is giving them a greeting like hello. That's why when Yeshua sent the 70 out, he said, greet no man on the way. Okay? So you're not even supposed to let these people into your house, yet they'll have you go to these crackpot churches and call the guy pastor or the woman pastor. You see, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. The church world is. Their eyes are not open. Many are called, but few are chosen. Those are the called, not the chosen. Broad and wide is the road to destruction, and many find it. They go every Sunday. They find it on Sunday in big churches. Straight and narrow is the way. It's direct. You just follow the scripture. It's straight and narrow. And few be that find it. Very few find it. Those are the elect. That's the remnant. Those are the called and the chosen. It's not especially hard to follow the true gospel. Yeshua said, as long as there's a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall be done away with from the law. And there still is a heaven and an earth. Yet they've discarded the entire law in the churches. And they go against the teachings of Yeshua, and when I point it out, they just go out of the chat. They leave. They're trying to get to heaven by affiliation. I'm in this church. It's not going to do them any good. can only help some of them. You can't help them all. Matthew 7:13. Enter you in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in therein. Because strait is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, he's speaking eternal life, and few there be that find it. So there's only going to be few. Okay, don't expect, a lot. The word for few in the Greek is Strong's number 3641. It means little or small. Okay? You could say few. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing. Oh, I'm Pastor John, and, the Lord's dead, and, But inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. Now listen to this hard. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit. Neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. You don't get anything good from the churches. If you say that you do, then you're going against the teachings of Yeshua. They have another gospel, they have another Jesus, they have another spirit. Every tree that bringeth forth not good fruit is hewn down, you could say cut down, and cast into the fire. That means they go in the lake of fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them. And there's also the gift of the spirit of discernment, where I believe you'll know, or even see literally their unclean spirits in them or hovering around them. I've seen unclean spirits. Not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. And that, to know the will of the Father, is the law. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? Now, do the Jews in the synagogues prophesy in the name of Yeshua? No. That's the churches. And in thy name have we cast out devils. The Jews don't do that. That's the churches. And in thy name done many wonderful works. That's the churches. The Jews do nothing in the name of Yeshua. And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work lawlessness. That's what iniquity means. They don't follow the law. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon the rock. Not giving the offerings is robbing God. They do. I get that all the time. The churchianity people with their crooked doctrines, they don't try to get offerings from the people very much anymore. The people don't give them either, apparently. So they sell them things. They make merchandise out of the God's people and sell things, breaking the scripture. Freely you have received, freely you shall give. Oh, I got a great revelation about end times. Buy my book. It's $23.95 plus shipping and handling. That's not the gospel. That's a farce. And the rain descended, and the clouds came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded on a rock. Yeshua is the rock. And everyone, but if you're rejecting the teachings of the words of Yeshua and you don't go into action on those, faith without works is dead. You're going to get cut down and thrown in the lake of fire. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came. Sound familiar? And the winds blew. Sound familiar? Like birth pangs, right? And beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. As your church is getting ready to go bye-bye. And it came to pass, you see, Satan makes mistakes all the time, and having this whole church system of his built up on the rapture, the left behind rapture is going to fail, and people are going to see bad things happening, and they're not going up to heaven, and they're going to realize the church was feeding them a load of crap, and some will repent and come out of it, and most won't. Okay, let's go through current events. Oh, please pray for my wife's new business. You've been praying for it and it's working, but please keep the prayers going. Thank you. Lost here. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'll go backwards. There was shootings in multiple people reported injured after numerous gunshots during a high school football game in Choctaw, Oklahoma. Three people got arrested. See, the Israelis read that, and what the government teaches the Israelis is, oh, we don't want to have a lot of guns in Israel. We'll be like America. See, we are already, because the Arabs are shooting us every day with illegal guns. They're not shooting us with registered guns. They don't have that. They're all illegal. And that's dollars to donuts. These mass shootings are 98% of them are going to be with, or 95% of them are going to be with illegal guns. Law-abiding gun owners would rarely, if ever, go out and do anything like that. The United States has a destroyer with escort vessels in the Baltic by Ukraine. I want to look at a map of this. Where is Ukraine on the Baltic? I want to see this here. What part is it? Now I got a typo. Okay. Fixed it. Where is a good map of Ukraine? Let's see. That's a terrible map. That's not good. Maybe this will work. So where's Ukraine? This is in Russian. That's joyful. That's really helpful. Map in Russian. this is another garbage map. Okay. You got to go through a lot of maps with Google these days to get a good one. A lot of them, they don't load right. You can't read the text. This one might be good. I don't think Ukraine really sits on the Baltic Sea. That's why I was wondering when I read that, what am I talking about here? I think it's in the Baltic Sea near Ukraine, not at Ukraine. I gotta get down to that. But it could be close to Ukraine. Let me get this straight here. It's a struggle working on Google Maps. They got tons of them, and most of them aren't really helpful. For whatever I'm trying to look for, it's usually never helpful. This one almost works. This one might work. Well, anyway, I think it's near the Baltic. I think Ukraine's on the Black Sea, not the Baltic, but as the case may be. America destroyer with escort vessels. I think there was, they called it a destroyer, but I think it was an aircraft carrier, maybe one of the small ones. I watched the video. See, it says U.S. destroyer strike group arrives in Ukraine and conducts fight operations from Baltic Sea. So yeah, maybe it went in the Black Sea, not the Baltic. I don't know. But it is interesting that they're over there with their aircraft. So I checked the value of the U.S. dollar today, and the dollar increased a little bit against some currencies, some big major currencies, and dropped a little bit against some big major currencies. So the BRICS thing has not yet really impacted it. Colombia issued non-binary passports. The Niger Republic military junta has ordered Nigeria, German, U.S., Cote d'Ivoire, and French ambassador to leave within 48 hours or face severe consequences. The U.S. Embassy is urging its citizens to leave Niger and is evacuating its diplomatic personnel. The French ambassador was also given a 48-hour ultimatum, and it also was done to Germany, so quite a few countries. So war is rather imminent in Niger. And the African states will be attacking Niger any day now. France is usually very scared to go to war or combat. Macron's like a little girl, and he's scared. And I don't think he's gonna hesitate to go into Niger because He's thinking, how could Niger possibly harm me? How could I lose? And how could Niger come and attack mainland France or my, assets around the world? Well, let us look back a year and a half approximately to Russia and Ukraine, and everybody thought, how could Ukraine possibly win? Well, so far they haven't, but the fight's going on. Russia has not yet won. Iran has reached an agreement with America on the reduction of sanctions so it can compete with Russia in the oil markets. This means Iran's going to have more money, and they're going to dedicate more money to terrorist activities against Israel. Is this what America wants? More terrorism against Israel? I'll be right back. Now, America is being attacked by Iranian militia groups in Iraq and Syria as we speak, daily. And they're killing each other. And now at the same time, America wants to help Iran out with giving them more money from releasing sanctions. The two things are inconsistent. Does America no longer know what they're doing? I mean, they can't have a path. They're on a collision course with what are they doing? Makes no sense. Florida Panhandle is expected to get a hurricane or tropical storm or something. Niger also asked the new United States ambassador to leave their country in 48 hours. So they're getting, when you tell the ambassador to leave, what they're not telling you is you're breaking diplomatic relations with that country. There's a refinery called Marathon Refinery in a city called Garyville, Louisiana. That's got some serious fires. No idea what caused the fires. You know, somebody could have flipped a cigarette in the wrong place. Who knows? There was an explosion last night in Moscow again, causing a fire in the southeast of Moscow, but again, nobody knows what caused the fire. France last night got hit with a thunderstorm and lightning strike. Hey, we were just reading about those, right? Well, I'll read it to you in French because that's all I got. Le vent sur Drôme. Wherever that is. Huge storm over Strasbourg, France today. I guess it was the same storm. A giant, where did this go? Oh, I'll get back. A giant cyclone, a cyclone's a hurricane, is forming in the southern Pacific zone close to the extreme southern coast of Chile. And it's a huge one. You could see in the pictures, it's a biggie. It's a biggie. The ECOWAS, the surrounding nearby African states, their military force is said to have completed all preparations and deployments for a military attack against the military junta in Niger. They have 12,000 troops ready to go in. I have no idea how this Niger war is going to go, but it looks like it's going to come down in a few days. And you never know who's going to come in and help Niger, or Russia may help them, who's going to come in and help the president that's been locked up by the military junta. Who's going to do what, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. If France pops its cork and really wants to go after them, and they start deploying fighter jets and the French Foreign Legion or wherever else over there, they'll wipe them out. But we thought Russia would wipe out Ukraine, and it never happened. So let's not jump the gun. It may not be a quick little war. You don't know who's going to join in. We got to watch. This is the desert in the UAE. Look at that. That's the desert. The UAE Arabian Peninsula faces historical rainfall and devastating thunderstorms this summer. Footage from Al for blah blah blah. Okay, we just read about that. Milan, which is in Italia, recorded the hottest day in 260 years. 260 years? We read about the heat. Parts of the U.S. will experience more severe weather next week following Hurricane Hillary, which triggered flooding across the west coast and storms in Michigan. Well, more to come. Feel free to pray for all the true believers to not suffer damage or loss from these storms. He will deliver you from the wrath to come. Heat in Northern Europe breaks previous record set in 2003. With Milan, which I think the Italians called Milano, they broke the last temperature record that they broke or something was from the year 1763. Oy vey. All things work for good to those that love the Lord. Those that wait on the Lord shall not be disappointed. That's powerful. Russia is banning nations from joining BRICS if they are anti-Russia and apply sanctions to Russia. So this BRICS thing is very on shaky ground, believe me. It's not built on Yeshua. None of these things are. Israel will be built on Yeshua, so to speak. Brak. Now, Israel reneged and isn't giving all the medical coverage to the Ukrainians. They said they wouldn't, and they said they did, and now they're reneging. Great. Netanyahu, the liar. This is hilarious. Are self-driving cars kosher? These lunatic ultra-Orthodox rabbis are debating if a self-kosher car is kosher. Well, you can't have a kosher car. How are you going to eat a car? But anyway, they're saying that if you're not going to drive the car, which I think they have these things in San Francisco, self-driving cars. If you're not going to drive the car, on Shabbat, can you use this kind of car? Well, they get into all their idiocy, like they have a Shabbat elevator. It's in buildings the Ultra-Orthodox live in Israel. So they might have some in Brooklyn, I don't know. The way it works is Friday afternoon they change the elevator to stop at every floor. So when the Ultra-Orthodox want to come down or go up from their apartment on Shabbat, they get in this Shabbat elevator and it stops on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They get out, right? And the same, they go in and it stops on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till they go home. And they say that they're not making an electrical spark, which they say is the same as kindling a fire. It's not. The electrical sparks don't consume anything. It's in wires. It's ridiculous. So that's what they do. They have Shabbat refrigerators. We've had 2 now that we buy. That's what they sell here. And you set them to go on every Shabbat, and the motor stays at a low speed all Shabbat. So that way you don't create a spark by turning the motor on when you open the door. And the light also doesn't work on Shabbat. So you don't create a spark for the light. Isn't that silly? It's absurd. So they're saying, well, with the car, it's sort of kind of like an elevator. You're not really driving it or causing the car to start. Someone else did, and then you just get in the car. I don't know. I mean, it's nuts. World Council of Churches slams Israel for violating religious liberties. That's the not giving them their clergy visas. And so it begins, the church world turning against Israel. And America will too. The volcano in Alaska's Shish Alden sent ash and clouds up 30,000 feet, almost 30,000 feet. They call that in the Bible columns of smoke, volcanoes. There's some anger at Maui now because FEMA officials are staying at $1,000 a night luxury hotels in Maui and doing recovery efforts in Lahaina or Aina. Well, the reason they're in the hotels is because the other hotels probably burned down or were booked solid, or they wouldn't be there. That's all that is, but they're blowing it up out of proportion. They're staying at 3 5-star hotels, the Fairmont Keolani, the Four Seasons, and the Grand Wailea Astoria in Maui. Well, they're enjoying themselves. There are now 2 typhoons. 2. Typhoon, cyclone, hurricane seem to be all the same thing. Near Japan, and they will affect the country until next week, including today and tomorrow. It's called Typhoon number 9. Oh, there's another one. Typhoon number 9 is expected to approach Taiwan from the Shakishima Islands by making a U-turn after moving south, then changing direction to the north. That's really unusual for that storm to be reversing its direction like that. The U.S. Navy aircraft carrier USS Gerald Ford, that's a real serious aircraft carrier, arrived at the Turkish port of Antalya yesterday. What's it doing there? I don't know. "32 Chinese aircraft and 9 Chinese naval vessels surrounded Taiwan. At 6 a.m. in the morning, they detected them. That's pretty serious. Yesterday. Wow, this morning in Taiwan, listen to this, 32 Chinese warplanes were spotted operating around Taiwan this morning. Wow. 32. Wow. China's getting Taiwan used to it. Every day they do this, every single day. So one day the attack will be real. And it'll come in wave after wave after wave after wave. And I imagine they're going to try to occupy physically Taiwan before America can mobilize its Navy and Air Force and do much about it. If they put 100,000 troops into Taiwan, being only about 110 miles away, it's not that difficult for them to do troop transports, especially since they have a lot of these converted ferry boats, and put 100,000 troops into Taiwan on a coastal, landing area. By military war college reckoning, it's going to take about 3.5 times that to rout them out in Taiwan, which is 350,000. But the Taiwan military is a pretty good sized military, so. But still, it's things are pretty stressed. Things are quite stressed. So we're getting plenty of signs. Plenty. Oh, multiple refineries in the Gulf Coast are being, I guess, with fires. Okay, somebody posted that in the chat. I could buy that real easy. And something to do with a helicopter fleet. That I haven't heard about. If you want to read more about the second Exodus, the best scriptures is Ezekiel chapter 20, beginning of verse 33 to the end of the chapter. It'll explain through there. But first comes Zechariah 12, when we get Greater Israel back, Psalm 83. And then comes the second Exodus. And then the testing of those that came. So Israel's going to break apart, but this democracy is going to go bye-bye. But the Lord is weakening the nations first. The fires, the storms, the heat, and the wars, and the ruler fighting ruler, which is what Niger is. And it's going to turn into a war. Macron in France said that the junta has no right to tell their ambassador to leave. He doesn't recognize the junta as being the military junta, the rebels that overthrew the president. He doesn't consider them to be a valid government outlet that could tell ambassadors to leave. So Macron is probably rather likely to send some troops down there. I think America still has a small amount of troops in Niger, not a huge amount, but some troops there. There's some new Golda Meir movie coming out that they're talking about. I don't know if it's out yet. Don't know, guys, but I can assure you it'll be a piece of junk if it's coming out of Hollywood. I think it's going to be junky, be very inaccurate and over dramatic and all kinds of other things. Will I watch it? More than likely. Will I watch the whole thing? It depends on how good or bad it is, because I don't know. I don't think it's out yet. Maybe it's in movie theaters, but it's not in the theater yet, in the internet yet. I would prefer to watch it on the internet, not go to a theater for it. And if it's on the internet and I gotta pay money for it, I probably won't watch it till it's free. The military of Niger, I would estimate, is going to have a very, very rough time fighting these invading African forces. I don't think that's going to come easy. Well, guys, I guess that's all I got for now. So I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and please pray for me and my wife Rivka. Pray for our peace, safety, joy, protection, and safety, and pray for our health and our finances, and pray for our animals and pets, that they be happy, healthy, and whole, and not run away or fight with the wrong people or each other or the wrong animals. And pray for better videos, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I already asked you to pray for my wife's new business, which is going well. And I don't know, that's about it. Thinking. Okay, so I hope you got something out of this. So what I'm doing is I'm illuminating you to the other signs, not just wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, I'm bringing the other stuff out to you, okay? So you could understand that better, all right? And we are in the year of redemption. Okay, we're not yet into the second month of it, we're still in the first month. August is going to be over pretty quickly. Let me get our calendar going here. Let's set this to the month it already is. So where are we? We're on 26. So Thursday the month is over, and then we'll be in September. So in normal times, the weather as we go into September starts to click down. Since the heat waves are part of the signs, I don't know. May not. You're going to pray for people in the hurricane zones and stuff where the storms are. Pray for all the true believers to not have any losses or be negatively affected by the storm. Nothing's too hard for Jehovah. Don't doubt that he can't do it. Don't go there. He can do it. And just, pray with faith, right? Okay. When the wars kick in, the money in different countries is going to be garbage, worthless. Not worth much lower, but worth less zero. They'll be running on barter and stuff like that. They're not going to work out too good. Is the United States going to attack China before they attack Taiwan? I doubt it. Will the U.S. and South Korea attack North Korea before North Korea attacks South Korea? I doubt it. They're going to. The U.S. is normally going to wait, The U.S. would probably like to run a proxy war against North Korea and China using Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan. They may try that. What would be the point? It would weaken the daylights out of China, so when the time comes for the U.S. to actually take China on, it'll be a weakened China. Will that work? I don't know. Taiwan and Japan are going to want to see America in there with planes and naval ships helping and actively engaging in the fight. So they might. India is a wild card here with China because they've had border fights and the Himalaya Mountains, and I don't know where we're going over that. And now we see India and China both in BRICS. See, BRICS is divided. It's not going to hold up. Muslim states, communist states, Hindu states, come on, it's too diversified. They don't have any common ground. It's not. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. No. I don't see it. Okay, I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I am out. Thanks.